lawn mow, Wally.
Okay.
You
Barry,
might
can
be
you
busy.
comment on that in terms of the challenge you face with staffs coming into the philosophy of, and positionless is a bit frightening term for some people, but would you comment, Barry, please?
Yeah, one of the reasons I started researching this transformational coaching, Wally, which is Socratic, I guess, just a different sort of a term for it, is because of what you're talking about. Most coaches that we work with, whether it's at the branch level or when I was working with Hockey Canada, are very much traditionalists in the way that they coach, both from the standpoint of the athletes and how they view them, and then the structure, the X's and O's of the kids as they come in and how they want to coach. Babcock said it years ago that structure protects the individual, and I think a lot of people still sort of follow that theory, of the fact that, you know, somebody makes a mistake, everybody's going to cover up for it, which is good, but there's more underlying to it than just that little piece. It's very difficult to try to get coaches to see a different way of coaching. A, the parent pressure, B, the winning thing, with most coaches coming in, and it relates to the pressure. A lot of them want to end up getting to the next level, so they feel that by winning a lot of games, that's how they prove themselves, whether it's shortening the bench or whatever. But the idea of positional play, we saw it probably 4 or 5 years ago. The U.S. at the under-17s, they had a team, and I can't remember who was coaching them. It was up north in Dawson Creek, Fort St. John. But I spoke to the head coach on a couple of occasions and the whole staff about how they had played the game. And they played exactly what you were saying, a 5-man unit, not 3 forwards and 2D, more so in the offensive zone, but still taking a look, even breakouts and that nature where they were trying to just support the puck. What he ended up saying, and Mike sort of says it in some of the things that he's saying, is the whole concept of small area games. They used it probably 80-90% of the time in their practices. And he said what it ended up doing is, especially in the offensive zone, there was nobody that was playing defense. It was if there was a loose puck, the first one to it went, and everybody reacted to it. I thought not only did they play the game tactically well, but their hockey IQ was beyond belief. Probably the best U17 team that I've ever seen play in that event. They went on to win that tournament. I think they won it anyways or finished second, but they were very good at what they ended up doing, and it was fun to watch them because they ended up just employing that sort of a method. Actually, they did win because Team Red played them, and they got beat the first game in exhibition. I think it was 9-0, and the tactic that we ended up using to try and counteract it, because we went down early in that game, was we stretched 1 or 2 players every time the puck came in our zone, so they had to respect that, and they had to change their tactical way of playing in the offensive zone where they couldn't have 5 people on the puck. They still did a good job at a 3-on-3 or a 4-on-4, but it sort of took away from their overall game and was the only thing at the time that we felt would end up working, and it did. We did come back and win, but was close. So anyways, I guess to answer it in a nutshell, most coaches today don't have the knowledge or the technical expertise to teach kids and to have the confidence to allow kids to make the mistakes, to figure things out in a situation where it's just 5 players on the ice. Some have figured out the 1-2-3 and that in the defensive zone, but haven't gone much further than that.
Barry, with Mason on, I just wanted to, I just jotted a note here that Al Ramsey, who's transitioned his boy from half ice hockey to whole ice hockey, and Adam, he's come up with a brilliant set of terms in terms of how to teach thinking and decision making on the ice for whole ice hockey. Tim, I believed, had a private call with Al, and I forget who it was, talking about what you talked about. So would you let Al, would you let Mason know a bit about this and just refresh our memories?
Sure. So in terms of positionless hockey, so I've actually had really good success in getting parents to kind of buy into that idea of, what is position. So USA Hockey has a really good presentation that they started doing. I don't know if it was this year or last year on what is position and talking about the four roles, right? Offense with the puck, offense away from the puck, defend the puck carrier, defense away from the puck. And they do a really good job of talking with coaches about that. But I think there is still a gap in like how you actually communicate that to players. So with the little kids, and this is starting, we started this group with in their development program, like they're learning to play, through the use of small area games. But in terms of talking about positions, it's like, all right, so we'll send all four guys out, right? So it's 4-on-4 hockey. When we line up for a face-off, we'll have 3 in the front, 1 in the back. So kind of careful not to say you're a defense, you're a forward, you're a right wing, center, left wing kind of thing. Closest to the puck is the dog. Right, dog wants to go get the puck. The next 2 are going to be foxes. They're going to be smart and predict where they need to be, arrive at the right spot in the right time. And the eagle sees all, and he can see all the players in front of him, kind of thing. So the eagle is kind of like your defender, right? So we carried that through to full ice hockey, and now when we have kind of separated into defense and forwards. I found it was pretty challenging if you just kind of let them go wherever they wanted, with the 5-on-5 hockey. So we send out 3 forwards. They can stand wherever they want in the face-off. I don't care who goes center, right wing, left wing. But we do have defenders. Now we've had pretty much everybody on the team has played defense through the year or has been the defender through the year. They usually change. We'll play a period or 2, and then a couple of kids will raise their hand. I want to be a forward. I want to play defense. So we kind of move them around. So I would say, we hit a couple of kids that really like being in that defensive role. But even still, it's still like the way you have the conversation with the kids. It's like when they have the puck, we're all on defense. When we have the puck, we're all on offense. Right? Dog, foxes, and eagles. If you're the closest puck, doesn't matter if you're back on the point. You would go in and get that. If let's say you're in the offensive zone, they go in and get that, and now you become dog, and maybe you become a fox if you pass it off to somebody else. Somebody else has to become the eagle and drop back. And you see the kids really starting to understand, how to engage in the play, stay engaged with the play, support, and then provide balance. Like I think somebody was talking about Bill Beanie's terms about pressure, support, and balance there on the last call, and that's really what you see. And then we've got other things we've thrown in there about like if you're an eagle, what's your role, right? Like if we're in their zone, you want to guard the line, and you want to. So we've incorporated a lot of things to kind of talk about different things to try and get them to think, and instead of trying to figure out who stands where all the time. It works really, really well, and the parents really buy in when you communicate what we're trying to do. The challenge is if you play a team that's maybe a little bit out of your league, which we've done. Like we went to a tournament here not too long ago, right? We had a lot of success in our league games. We went to a tournament playing against higher level teams, and after some of the games, it's like, we heard from some of the parents, the other team played their position really well, and it's like, well, they didn't, right? They were more skilled, so our kids looked like they were running around, and that's kind of what happens. Or you'll play a coach where, because we're trying to get the defensemen or the people who are in that eagle role, right, that playing, let's say, on the point to be very aggressive and try and guard the line, and instead of just if the other team gets the puck, like the teams that we play, they'll keep their defenders back on the points. The kids, are kind of glued there, and then if the puck gets turned over, they just, they beat her back to guard their own net, right? And ours don't do that. They're pretty aggressive, and we'll see a lot of looks where it's like a 1-3-1 in the offensive zone, that kind of thing. So if one of the opposing coaches decides to send a player out to the blue line or out behind her defense, like we give away a lot of breakaways, right? Because of that, because the kids are playing fairly aggressive. So sometimes you'll see things come up about that in terms of parents talking about positioning, but by and large, like you see it really come out in the games. Like if we're watching clips of our games, which we do every week, you can clearly pick out like, who's the dog in this situation, who are the 2 foxes and who are the 2 eagles. And then if, let's say a defender pinches and goes in and engages in the play, you'll see the player, drop back and assume that role, right? And you'll see a lot of rotation, and the parents can see what we're like, all the things we're talking about, we can see. And then if you bring up a clip of, you know, say the Bruins or especially a team like Tampa or something like that, you can see them doing the exact same thing. You know, so I don't know. We've had, like I said, we've had a lot of success with parents buying in. It does become a challenge, like if other teams are coaching against it, right, and they're you know, doing things that are a little bit more structured, or they're sending guys out behind us and, you know, doing things that coaches will do sometimes to try and win Adam games. But yeah, it was a really fun year. I know we're in the process of doing our evaluations for next year, so they're having their tryouts. And it's funny, like being in the room with they've got a couple of college coaches that are in doing the independent evaluations. And they're talking about some of the kids, and it's like, oh, this kid really understands his position really well. And it's like, well, he's like, he's being an Eagle right now. You know what I mean? Like he was like, he understands his position. Okay, well, he didn't have a position all year. You know what I mean? So it's been really funny, like listening to some of the conversation.
Al, I'm going to, before Tim gets to speak, I'd like to comment on this. Mason, when I coached Japan in the Nagano Olympics, the women, and in preparation for it, we were like Al's team when they played a higher level skill team, and outcomes were a factor. We didn't want to get beat more than 10-0. And so we had to structure. And when I came up with the phrase penalty kill with 5 in the D zone, that helped. And I think they really would respond well to the dog, fox, and eagle theory if we can get into their zone, especially in the second period back in those days. They've all come a long way, but I'm just thinking that the score clock usually determines how structured you get to play safe and play not to lose. So that's all I wanted to add. And before Tim comes on, Hal Terse is on in Minnesota. Hal, we have Mason. He's in Moscow working in the Female Hockey League. Hal, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, good morning. Hal Terse. I am in Minnesota. I've been coaching for about 51 years now. And I switched over to the girls' side a couple of years ago. So I was a USA hockey guy for a long time and doing coach education and all that stuff. So the stuff we're all talking about is so interesting. And I've, you know, I use with my high school girls I was coaching the last 2 years is one of the things is that they're watchers, they're not players too much. And then they don't compete very high until I had to bring them a video of what a junkyard dog looks like. And, you know, which I would assume most of you know what a junkyard dog is. Then they kind of got it. And I said, play like a junkyard dog and get the puck back. I mean, so we had a lot of fun with that analogy for the last 2 years, and they get it. So I think we're talking, especially on the girls' side, and Daryl had some really good comments the last couple of weeks. You know, we got to talk to them differently, and you got to present the concepts differently because they play differently, they react differently. So, anyways, I think I sent you a photo too, didn't I, Wally?
Yes. Yeah.
So
okay, Timmy, go ahead, Tim.
Wally, Daryl's on too, I think.
Good.